Okay, so thank you to everyone who's joined the session this morning. Today we're going to take you through a deep dive of business and economics. So I'll just take you through a rough agenda, and then we'll also go through some housekeeping slides before we begin. So we're going to go through our application-based activities for business and economics. We're going to go through some Excel simulations, some graphing tools, static and algorithmic questions, test banks, case studies and videos, and we'll have a Q&A at the end for any questions you may have. So your speakers today are myself, Veebha Suchak, and the marketing manager at McGraw-Hill, and we also have Kevin O'Connell, who's our implementation consultant, who's going to be talking us through the actual physical look and feel of Connect and how things work from a demo perspective. And then also on the panel, we have our colleagues Sana and Parveen, who are going to help moderate any questions you may have. So please do feel free to pop in any questions you have into the chat box or the Q&A section. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start us off with talking about some application-based activities this morning. Now, application-based activities are a really key part of Connect because they encourage students to apply theory to practice, and they are actually interactive scenarios that you can go through and Connect that relate to real-life situations so you can apply what you've learned in your different subject areas to a situation that we conduct online. And there are over 100 ABAs across economics, international business, introduction to business, management, marketing, and student success. Now, this slide just shows you a little highlight of the key ABAs that we have across our B&E sections. So we have economics, intro to business, marketing. This is just like a highlight of what we have available, but we do have many, many more. So do feel free to put your questions in and we can answer any queries that you have on these. And I'm just going to pass over to my colleague Kevin, who will be able to show you what the ABAs actually look like in Connect. Just give us a moment. Okay, over to you, Kevin.
Thanks, Vee. So I'm just going to share my screen here and we can have a look at what these look like. So as you can see here, I'm looking at this from the Connect student view, and we're going to have a look at one for Intro to Demand and Supply. So I'm just going to open it up here as a student. And before we start the application-based activity, it's going to give the student an overview of what their learning objectives are and the scenario they're going to be in. So the scenario for the demand and supply is regarding is like a game show style scenario. So before the student begins, they'll click on the learning objectives, then tell them how they score points. So in this case, they're going to be answering points to see if they understand about supply and demand. So when I click begin here, there's going to be a little, basically some graphics and videos on the right of the screen, and then down the left of the screen, we're going to have, we have our game show host here called Richard, and then we are playing Jackie, and there's another character called Andre. So the whole idea here is to take the student through in this game show format. So it's a nice way of gamifying it for the student and kind of increase engagement in a different way than we usually would, apart from, quizzes, and, really lets the student kind of play around. It's a kind of very colorful, very playful, and a different way of doing it. So as the student is going through here, it's telling us, the rules of the game, that, they can, bet on a question for $100 or $200. So we do that straight away. It's all quite interactive here. The student is going to be following down and just pressing continue. It's very tactile, very kind of obvious for the student where they press. And again, we can see here it's asking us what kind of difficulty level question we want. Do we want a $100 question, which would be more easier, or $200 question, which is slightly harder? So we click the $200 question, and it's asking us the question here on the right of the screen. So the price of bananas increases from $0.75 to $1. What does that supply curve look like? So we press continue here. What's going to happen is it's going to give us the list of potential answers. So we'll just say an upward movement to the left along the demand curve. And we can see this is correct. So we can continue on playing the game. And we can see now that I have $200 and my opponent Andre has $0. So this keeps going on for the student, and as I said, it has kind of competitive, it can be used for self-study, or else we can use the AVAs is quite useful, using conjunction with a tutorial for the students, and then, doing in class, either questions or discussions as well on top of it. So these are really quick to set up. We'll just go back to our instructor view here, and we'll click on add assignment. And what we can see then is application-based activity. So when we're assigning these, there's a few different ways to do it, or a few different ways to select. We have 26 different options for this book here. So you can look at the different topics that you might want to look at. So, we could click on exports, and it's going to show us that. Once you've selected what you want, you just have to click on it. So there's economic pandemic, which is quite relevant at the moment. So we can click on that. If you want to preview it yourself, you can press the preview button, and this will bring you into the student preview, or you can just go straight and assign it. So when you're assigning, you just need to put in the name, put in some instructions you want. Again, these might be a bit irrelevant as the game has quite good in-game instructions. Add a due date here as well, and the number of points you want to be assigned for this, and then the number of attempts allowed. So, you could have 1, 2, 3, or unlimited attempts. So once you click assign, it's then available for the students. So that's all from me on that. I'll hand you back to V.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. And the next thing we're going to talk about is Excel simulations, which are available only in finance and accounting. And they are assignable within Connect, and they allow students to practice their Excel skills within the context of corporate finance, investments, and accounting. And you can think about employability here, because Excel skills are a base requirement for all beginning career fields. And the great thing about it is that it's automatically graded, and the feedback comes through automatically to students. And the questions are animated and narrated to show students exactly how to do things. So it focuses on basic Excel skills such as formulas and cell referencing, and requires students to enter answers and has a formula. It's good to note that students don't need to purchase Microsoft Office to practice Excel, and instructors don't need to worry about version control. So this is also all done for you in Connect automatically. So now Kevin will show us a brief overview of how Excel simulations work in Connect. We'll just pass him over.
Perfect, thanks, Fee. So I'm just going to share my screen again. Where is it? Here we are. So when we're in here, again, I'm looking from the student view, so we have an Excel simulation set up here. So what it looks like from a student perspective once they open it up is like this. So we'll click begin here, and we'll press continue. So as V said, this is the embedded the Excel into Connect. So once we begin here, it's going to go, all answers must be entered as a formula. So we have our embedded Excel sheet, and the question is asked here within the Excel sheet, and as we scroll down, we can see, it's asking the question, it's giving our values, and it's also saying to complete the following analysis, don't hard-code our values, so only type in the final values, and to use the Excel formula to calculate all our values. So the students can click in here. I've set this up so, we have 3 different, Excel stuff. So we have the calculating the annual rate of return. There's lots of kind of basic stuff the student can cover here, and that will be useful for the student in, real life, and get them up to date using Excel. So the students can, the aim is to type in everything into this Excel sheet here, like they would in a standalone Excel program. So they can, put in the cell number. I've marked it here, so, it'll tell the student if what they're doing is correct or incorrect. What's really powerful here is it can give the student hints. So we click on hint here. So it's also available here to read at the bottom, and they can also, depending on how you've done your settings, it can show the students how this is done. Quickly, you can type in. So this might be quite useful as well for any students that, have visual or hearing impairments, and then it shows the student exactly what they need to type in there. So this is a really powerful tool to kind of get students up to scratch on Excel. So how we assign is quite easy as well. We're going to find it under Add Assignment and in our question bank. So when we click on our question bank, instead of going to what you might normally do by, looking through the book and its chapters, we'll click on our question source and go to, where's it gone? Finance. And sorry, when we go into our chapters, we'll see it here. So we'll see our test bank here. So there's nothing in chapter 8. And here we are. So chapter 3, financial statement analysis. So we can see here it's clearly marked as Excel simulations. So we'll click select on that, and it's going to give us some Excel simulations here. So in this case, they're going through the DuPont analysis. So you can click on that and review it yourself before assigning to students. And you can review it here. So once it loads up, we can review it from here. And again, it'll give an explanation for yourself. And this explanation will be also available to students after they've answered the question. Oh. So hopefully you can hear all that. But basically, as I said, you can all, review the question and then review the explanation here before assigning to students. So once you're happy with it, you can assign it as you would a normal question. So just by clicking Add this question, add as an individual question. And once you're happy and selected all your Excel simulation questions, you can just press Continue. Oh, down the bottom. And again, you can assign this as you'd normally assign any other questions in Connect. So I'm just going to hand back to V there now.
Cool, thanks for that, Kevin. Yeah, so I think Excel simulations are really like an invaluable tool within Connect for business economics because it really gets you that baseline knowledge of how to use Excel and how to use formulas for finance and accounting. So the next one we have is graphing tools, which are actually available in economics, finance, and accounting. And they give students the access to interactive data problems that can help students visualize and interpret concepts, graphs, and data. Students get hands-on experience with relevant subject matters, and they can use this tool to manipulate data and answer a variety of accompanying problems that test multiple levels of understanding. Now, a great thing about this is that it's assignable assessment questions and feedback to guide students through reading and interpreting data. So it can be interactive, it can be assignable, it can be automatically graded as well, I believe. And Kevin will just take us through the basics of how that one looks as well. So I'll just pass it over to him.
Thanks. I'm going to share my screen here. We could go to. So again, looking from the student view, I've set a few interactive graphs here, and there's a lot that can be covered here. But we'll look at price elasticity and revenue, something that'll come up quite a bit, and we'll click Begin on it. So when the student is in here, we'll press Continue. It's quite a powerful tool. So what we'll have is our interactive graph that the students can play around with. And then it'll also give the students instructions to what they need to do. So, in this case, it's asking us to figure out what the price elasticity of the midpoint is. So the students here can play around with it by dragging the settings here. So we want to make it more elastic or less elastic. Or so we can see our, base price here as $3, and we can bring that up to, $5. And then the student can do calculations from within here. As they're going through it, they can also, and they can do this in most Connect stuff, but check what their answer is and see where they're going right or wrong. So again, with all this, there's quite a lot of detail in here for the student. It's, quite good for self-study as well. And they can kind of, as we can see, as they play around with it, they can then reset it to get back to their original settings and then review the graph there. So we can see here that the demand is always going to be $6 minus 0.100 here, and we can move that back and forth. So this reset means the student, won't get lost or forget where they're going with it. Again, the student can, skip through. So we have two different parts here in supply and demand. So for each breakdown, there's a few different parts. I think there's about 2 or 3 questions per topic. And again, they're going to be asking different questions, and there's a kind of algorithmic feel to this, so the students can, practice again and again, coming back to when they're revising. What I'm also going to show you here is the graphing tutorials that are available for students. So these are quite simple as well and take the students through the very basics of graphing. So what we're going to show you here is just, a very basic one of plotting a single point. I'm just going to click begin on that and press continue. So we can see here, this is a real simple one. It's just asking us to plot a point. So it says on the graph below, click on the point, and they want the graph to be, equal to 1 on the x-axis and 2 on the y-axis. So we can literally take our point here and put it in here. So you can see this, and then we click on check my work, and so it's just literally taking the student through that. So I think there's about 10 of these available as well under the graphing tutorial. So they're available to the students to use, and especially for undergrad students or students that might be very new to using graphs, this could be a really powerful tool. So how we set these, I'm just going to go to the instructor view here, is by clicking assignment again, and this can be found in the question bank. And when we're in the question bank, we're just going to change our source here, and we're going to use the interactive graphs. So again, these has kind of standardized stuff here. What we were looking at earlier was, so we can again choose labor markets here. And what we can see here is these worksheet style questions. Anything here with the A symbol is algorithmic, which means the variables within the question will change every time a student goes into it. Or, if you have students using this side by side, they'll get different variables every time. So again, you can select these like you would a normal question by clicking add this question and add an individual question, and then following through by pressing continue and setting your policies like you would any other Connect assignment. So perfect. I'll go back to Veena.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Kevin. So we also have some static and algorithmic questions that are also available in economics, accounting, and finance. Now, I love this because they can offer two types of questions to students: static questions, which match from the book and can be used in class, and algorithmic questions that allow students to practice the concept and apply theory and not just learn the numbers. So they're short answers and calculated questions. There's an extensive question bank which can be filtered by difficulty, which I'm sure Kevin will show you shortly. And there's pre-built assignments available. Students can practice creating balance sheets and are tested on ensuring the right information is in the right place, not just getting the numbers right as well. So it's all about applying that theory to practice, and instructors can easily pick auto-gradable questions and save themselves valuable time throughout this as well. So over to you again, Kevin, for that.
Perfect, thanks, Vee. So just looking here, so how we can assign these straight away is going to the question bank. And again, these will be done on a chapter by chapter basis and generally match up with our end of chapter questions. So we look at chapter 4 here, we can see there's end of chapter algorithmic and end of chapter static. So the static will be pretty much matching with the book, and they will stay static, so the variables in the question won't change. So if we choose the algorithmic here, we can have a look. So again, we can, select based on difficulty here. So, if you want to challenge your students, you can filter out just the challenging questions. Again, you can also use learning objectives here if you want to filter out and search for it that way. So looking at the questions themselves, we can click, this one here, problem 29 in chapter 4, annuities. We can say there's two different bits here, and the variable is, 40 years. The plan is to spend about 30,000 in retirement, and that should last about 25 years. So we do this again. What we're seeing here is these variables are changing. So the interest rate is changing here from 6% and then 10% this time. So again, varying on the questions, there's a lot of different options here. These are all auto-gradable as well, and depending on your settings, you can have the explanation available for students so they can see where they went wrong and follow the pathway with each different numbers. These are really, really good for revision, so you could set these and have the students go in there, and also for in-class testing. So, two students will be getting two different sets of numbers, so you can kind of avoid any copying. So with these, again, it's the same as adding on your question. So you can click add this question and add as an individual question. And once that's done, you can just press continue and set your policies here. And from there, you're all good to go. Perfect. I'll pass back to Vee then.
Okay, great. So as you can see, there's so many different resources in Connect for business economics. Another great one to finish off with is some test banks, some case studies, and some videos which are available throughout all B&E subjects. And with test banks, you can build your own question banks, relating them to end of chapter material, and you can feature video case content to test student knowledge ability and ensure engagement with existing real-world cases. With videos, you can have our B&E portfolio. You can come across assignable videos and accompanying questions, and you can aim these at helping students understand key learning objectives. This also keeps students engaged, and they can also be reviewed and revised outside of the classroom. So a video kind of adds that little different effect to say, okay, this is something a bit more interactive that I'm getting involved in from a student perspective. And then you also have case studies within the B&E portfolio that are accompanied by questions which can test students' application on theory and concept. So I think Kevin will run you very quickly through these three things on Connect, but I think they're quite straightforward and quite easy to find. So I'll pass it over to Kevin for our last time here.
Perfect. I'm just going to share my screen. So yeah, I've already preset these up. So the case studies, the video questions here, and again, they're very easy to find if we click on Add Assignment and in our question bank. So when we're in here, these will be broken down generally on a chapter by chapter basis. So we can see here, in this case, we have the case studies available here. So we can select that and it will take us through. So we can see we have various question types. We have essay questions available, worksheet style questions as well. So you can read through these yourself and, you'll be able to see what the students be seeing. And then, the students can go through it themselves and do the available questions. What's really useful with these is, setting them up and, again, using for in-class discussion or having it as a way of students doing self-study. You could set these up once and the students can come in and practice in their own time, or just have it as an option to read through it. Again, if you want to have a look at videos, we'll find them here underneath our chapter. So these will be all broken down on a chapter by chapter basis. So if we click on the video questions here, we can click select. And again, these are all broken down, so time value of money, and it will take the students through these different scenarios. All these videos are kind of around 2 to 5 minutes, so they're quite quick for the student to go through, and they can break down. Again, there's questions attached. The questions, these are generally kind of quite simple MCQ-based questions to make sure the student's doing it. But the most important thing is the student getting the knowledge from the videos. So I think that's everything from my side, V. I don't think I missed anything there. What I'll show before I drop off is what these look like from the student perspective. So I've set one here, a video question about net present value and internal rate of return. So we click on it here, we can just click begin. And what it looks like then for the student is a bit like this. So the student can watch the video and then they can skip through and do their questions. So as you can see here, again, after watching the videos, questions available, they can check their work and do it that way. Looking at it from the case study perspective, so I set one up here for Southside Chicken Farms earlier. And we can just have a quick look at that. So again, the student will click in here and the case study will load up and they can go through it that way. So again, there's a lot of detail in these and a lot that can be taken from it for the students and used in class. Again, these are both useful for, either for the case studies for in-class discussion and the videos, for a self-study where possible. Perfectly, I'll pass back to you now.
Great, thank you very much. And I think that was all from Kevin and I. If there are any questions from the audience, I don't know, if you feel free to drop them in the chat box. But I think things were quite self-explanatory, so I'll just give it a minute to see if there's any questions coming through. Okay, I don't think we have any questions. That's great. And I just wanted to finish off by saying we will be recording this session, so they'll be shared with any attendees. And we'll also share snippets of these sessions on our website, I'm sure, just to come in handy for any instructors getting ready for the new academic year. And you can always stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. And we also have a special portal at the moment for educators to help them get ready for the new academic year as well. So feel free to click the link and we can send this out to you as an attendee afterwards as well. Thank you so much for attending and I hope you have a great day.